Okay, so very, very quickly, I want to reiterate the importance here of centering and coming into an alignment, an aligned body. Now, the real essence in yoga of the alignment process is what I have already touched on in the full program. However, the full program isn't actually here just with the videos. If you're interested in the full program, some of it doesn't have videos, and so therefore it is actually on Patreon and not on YouTube. And this is the aspect which is about becoming weightless. Now, again, and like I said, it never ceases to amaze me, the incredible nature of the natural man and woman's body. The human body is so phenomenal. We have the potential to be weightless and stressless. That's our ultimate potential. We can very much see the result of that when we look at tribal communities and the ability, this very, very simple and almost, anyway, it's more than simple, it's effortless. The effortless ease that tribal people have to carry large and heavy weights on their heads riding a bike with somebody on the handlebars, usually. I'm not sure I can fully express to you how superhuman in some ways that actually is. And it very much is for the slaves of the Western world like us, okay? The white man or woman. We have been fundamentally destroyed in the physicality of our truest potential, because our truest potential comes from the awareness and of the merger of the body, mind, heart and spirit. It's all one. And when we fully acknowledge it and embrace it and feed it and nourish it with goodness, then it's going to be feeding us and giving us nothing but goodness. So the essence of the aligned position is that, okay, so two main sort of real benefits with the alignment. The first is the result of an aligned position, okay? So an aligned position, so I'm going to do that for you here now, is very much, and we will end this video with a short grounding as well, it's very much as if you have a pole through the crown of the head and you just want to imagine it piercing through the centre of every part of the length of the body, okay? And then it moves out through between the legs, and that is very much around the perineum, okay? So sort of between the front genitals and the anus. So there's, you know, a piece of skin there. Now I just really want to reiterate here, okay? My work is about the body. The body has been projected onto terribly sexually, okay? A lot of the stuff that I talk about, you know, movements or places where we're holding, you know, it's very, very linked in and attached to our sexuality. That's because, like I talked a little bit about when we're talking very much about linking the left and right brain, that it's very much because we've been forced into our left brain, which is about denouncing our creativity and our sexuality and our ability to birth ourselves in our fullness, and in particular our projects. And so, you know, as a race, we've become very good at putting people down, putting down their creativity, you know, putting down what they're trying to birth, making them look like idiots, you know, and it's one reason why I developed this program nearly 10 years ago and I haven't put it out there yet. Why? Because I can't bear the haters. I just can't be bothered with it. Most of them are people I know. Okay, so honestly, I just want to move beyond this idea of the people who are closest to you, usually geographically, dislike you the most. I can't be bothered. And so actually, you know what? I just thought, you know what? The only way to get beyond that is just to put yourself out there, okay? And then you may as well just bypass the people that actually do know your name, because they're very few, and the problem is that they feel powerless and worthless, okay? And so they just project it onto you. It's not your fault. It's not your circus. They're not your monkeys, right? All you have to do is come back to yourself, come back to your center, totally align, and then allow through that process, this is number one, okay? I'm still talking. The weight to fall through the structure of the body rather than getting stuck. Now, we get stuck because we're just kind of slobbing out, like I said, we're just kind of leaning on the wall. It's like, just take my weight, please, you know. I haven't got a backbone, like I literally totally twisted, man. Okay, and that's the truth. It makes us grumpy, it makes us irritable, it makes us hate other people, turns us into haters, it makes us make really bad food choices, it makes us sick and tired and lazy and ultimately just ugly, because that is just the nature of that stagnation energy. It's just an ugly energy, and it comes very much out in your projections. So what you say about other people, very much usually the way that people express themselves. Okay. We've realised the importance of alignment is to allow the weight to fall through our bodies so that we can become weightless, and that means stressless, and it means painless, actually. The real benefit to becoming aligned is the fact that it's a meditation in and of itself. The process that it takes to have the level of awareness of the now moment presence is precisely that. It's about coming back into alignment. So in some ways, all you need to do, if you're really struggling and you're really finding it difficult, you know, you've gone down, you know, into a pit of despair through, you know, following the illusional and delusional awarenesses of the mind, you're experiencing is just the toxicity of the body, actually. That's what makes you sick and tired. That's what makes you so angry. But it is more than that. It's also your reactive stress patterns, which are very much based on your bodily patterns of coping mechanisms throughout your life that, as we've already discussed, start very, very early in the formative years. So we can use the practice of remaining aligned to always bring ourselves back to the body and out of the mind. So if we find ourselves getting triggered in particular, this is really what the ultimate training is moving you towards. It's moving you towards the ability to compost the stress down and through your body in the exact moment that it's happening. So if somebody's causing you some stress or strain outside of yourself, and, you know, because you're still only human, you haven't ascended to an angelic realm yet, or even 5D, you may, and in particular as you start on your awakening journey, you're going to start stirring stuff up. And when we stir stuff up, what's the nature of stirring stuff up? It's there, it's really right there on the surface, it's just there. So somebody's going to be poking and prodding because they're unhappy, and it's going to potentially trigger you. And in that moment, there's a choice. When we have began to soften our reactivity, up until that point, there is no choice, because the trigger is the reactive patterns in the body. It's the muscle that's just so tight, or the bowel that's just holding on to accumulated debris, or the throat that has just clamped down the truth of its being because it was just told that they were speaking too loudly or telling the truth, God forbid. And it's that part of you that is very, very much unable to stop, drop, tune in, align, and refuse to engage in the drama. So that's the ultimate goal. The ultimate goal, if there is one, is just to get so whole through the entirety of your process that you are emanating Christ consciousness and pure conscious awareness that is just compassion, basically. So compassion for all life. With that, let's just do a very short meditation. No, I just want to very quickly say the two ways that you can align, which are lying down on the floor, no pillow, because the head obviously has to be resting on the floor. And actually, if you're using a pillow behind the head, you're not getting the full, you're still going to be creating tension in the occiput and in the neck. You're not getting the fullness of the drop and of the ability for those muscles just to, and as we've already discussed, it's really in the neck and C1, the trust center, where we're not really in a state of trust. Okay, so we can't trust ourselves, we can't trust other people, and ultimately we can't trust the government, or we can't trust life itself. So if you do have a strong lock, kyphosis in C1, that means that your head is very much bent back. This is where you'll really see people's alignment go askew. And even I've watched people meditating, they're like that, or they're like this, or they're like that, or just completely like this. You know, if you see so, and you know, I've got a reactive stress pattern in my neck, so my tendency is to, you know, go all, you know, it's not just in my neck. Certainly, I've got a very strong one in my hip, my right hip. Like I said, I was born disabled, so I've had a lot of extreme reactive stress patterns in my body, and they guided my process for the last 25 years because it was pain. And that's why I became a healer, because I needed to know, how do I... Well, actually, it was through the process of actually learning yoga and meditation. As I began to relax was when I felt the pain. I didn't actually feel the pain when I was in a totally wound up state of stress. Okay, it wasn't until I actually dropped into the body and then I said, ooh, there's pain. So as a result of that, I became a therapist. I wanted to know what was the secret to ridding myself of pain. What I learnt was, over the last 25 years, that actually the biggest and most profound shifts in pain come through an emotional release. Okay, so that was when I realized that it's actually in our physical form, it's in our muscles and in the structure, and in particular the reactive tension of tight ligaments and muscles, that when we actually start to soften and open and really let go and have a release, there's very much an emotional charge that we were hiding. And that's why we've hardened. So we weren't able in the initial to cope with the feelings, or we were told we weren't allowed to, it's very much what parents do, that we had to push it down. Okay, we pushed it back into the body, we suppress it, and then we continue with food, with the feed aspect. And that's not just with food, that could be with any addiction at all. Food, substances, could be medication, and certainly people use sex, drugs, rock and roll, and any level of distraction to avoid looking at what we're holding. And then those controlled stress behaviours are basically your coping mechanisms. So then we're stuck in strong patterns of coping mechanisms that are actually making you very sick. Okay, they worked for a little while, but now they're a problem and they're going to cause you more harm than good in the ultimate. Okay, so let's just start with the grounding in the first phase. I very much recommend lying down. In the second phase, you can sit if you like to, and I often recommend actually kneeling. So let's just close the eyes, and we're going to imagine that we've got that pole of light. It's coming down through the top of the head, and it's moving down through the centre of the body and through each of the 7 chakras as it makes its way the journey down the spine. Okay, at the centre of the body. And it moves down through the perineum, moving down through the centre, through the floor, the foundations of the building, and we're going on a journey to the centre of the earth, moving through all the different layers of the earth, the dirt, the earth, the sand, shale, stones, rocks, boulders, waterways, rivers, streams, lakes, the vastness of the ocean itself, through the ocean floor, porous layer of the earth, damp, wet, heat and steam rising, further and further down, 1,000 kilometres down, hitting molten lava, the fire in the belly of the earth, swirling and churning and burning away all of the dross, anything that doesn't serve. Another 1,000 kilometres down, we're moving through and into white hot spinning metal. It is the chaos that creates. It's pure light, pure heat, pure magnetism, and it's giving off great shards of light and great shards of electricity. It is the spark of life itself. It is the chaos through which all life creates. And right in the centre is the stillness, the still point around which everything revolves. And we plug into that stillness. And then we breathe. Up into our centre and just hold and release. Namaste. Enjoy your day.